Are we going to get back to old normal? Hashtag old normal.
Yes. It's just when.
Maybe in our lifetimes. Joining us right now is David Johnson. David, good morning to you.
Good morning, Bruce. How are you?
So far, so good. You are the founder and the CEO of Foresight Health. You have an author. You write about the healthcare industry, kind of understanding where economics and medicine collide, if you will. And one of the concerns, and I know there was the Wall Street Journal recently had a piece out there that said maybe old normal, that's my hashtag, by the way, David, hashtag old normal, might be farther away than we think. How soon till we get back to old normal, if ever?
Well, if you believe Dr. Fauci, we will probably be back to your version of old normal with a couple of twists by the end of the year. Certainly, maybe before that if we get widespread adoption of the vaccines.
And is that your understanding as well? I mean, do you believe Dr. Fauci?
I do.
Yay, okay. See, the end of the year, Bruce, and it'll all be back to normal. But what is the old normal going to look like?
Well, I think it'll look like we more and more distantly remember the pre-corona virus period, where we'll be able to get together and go to restaurants and so on. But there is this process going on of mutating viruses, and most people don't realize that the common flu is a form of the coronavirus. So it's not all that unexpected that the COVID-19 version will mutate and hang around for a while. In fact, there are something like 400 vaccines either out in the marketplace right now or under development, and several of those are working to bake in a component to the annual flu shot that will address this in the future. So,
we can combine the two, is what you're saying, possibly, that there'd be like maybe a yearly vaccine that would cover you for all of these potential things?
Well, just like the flu shot, it doesn't get you for all the flus, but it's a whole lot better than not getting it. So it not only, could this happen, it will happen. It will get baked into the annual flu shot, just the way they've baked in components to address SARS and MERS and some of these other more dangerous infections.
Again, we're talking to David Johnson. He's a health expert and author as well, who writes about healthcare and the delivery of such. My question is, you touched on, and you obviously mentioned that there would be these mutations, new strains, whatever they might be.
Right.
Is the expectation that all new strains will be weaker than COVID-19? I mean, God forbid we run into something that's more contagious, more deadly? I mean, is that possible? I assume it's possible.
Well, it's not only possible, we're seeing some of these new strains are more infectious, like the one that came from Great Britain. And the one that's causing the most concern right now is the one from South Africa. The good thing to note, though, Bruce, is that immunity is starting very high, right? If you get a vaccine shot, 95%.
Okay.
And it's not going to go away overnight. So it may not be as effective if a new strain comes along. Also, as I mentioned, there are a whole lot of vaccines under development. 6 are already out in the global marketplace, and dozens more are coming. And as the vaccines mutate, it's not as though they just are going up against, as the viruses mutate, it's not as though they're just going up against one vaccine. They're going to be going up ultimately against dozens. So it's going to be much harder for one strain of the virus to get absolute control the way the coronavirus was when it was, kind of came out as a novel virus with nobody expecting it.
And you got a free run, yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's going to really come down to being vaccinated. Like with the flu, and I get the flu shot every year, but you're right. Sometimes I actually get the flu. Never really that serious because, as you said, there are these variants. And so it's what it sounds like you're saying is we'll have a vaccine for COVID-19, but that doesn't necessarily mean we won't down the line maybe get it in a mild form at some point.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. The other thing we always have in our arsenal, if for whatever reason one of these vaccines begins to break out, is we now have a much more well-developed set of public health tools that we know work. Vaccines increase and decrease in exponential fashion. So 2 goes to 4, goes to 8, goes to 16, goes to 32. But it comes down that way. And even if you just look at the last couple of months, in early December, we were at 130,000 cases a day in the U.S., and it went up in early January to over 250,000 cases a day. And here we are now in mid-February, and it's down to 80,000 cases a day. So it goes up and then down again. And that's not the vaccine driving that.
Okay.
That's just public health behaviors. So they're in our arsenal, too. So I don't think people should get overly alarmed by this. At the same time, we can't throw caution to the wind either.
David Johnson, again, a author and a health expert, is one of the concerns, because it strikes me that as we talk about vaccines and understanding the importance of a vaccine moving forward and in the future, to get back to hashtag old normal, is the delivery, the ability to get it, starting with the most vulnerable or just getting it to everybody, because it strikes me, as we've seen, this scattershot approach hasn't been working very well, that our system isn't set up to deliver a mass vaccine rapidly. Or is that just my perception, David?
Well, we certainly stubbed our toe coming out of the gate. But again, let me be the glasses half full.
There you go. You do it.
I could go the other side if you want. But we are going to go from a position of vaccine scarcity where we are today, and people really struggling, including myself, to get a vaccine shot, right? Illinois hasn't been terribly good at getting the vaccines out.
It's an understatement of biblical proportions. Yes.
Yeah. Within 2 to 3 months, we will be at with vaccine surplus. I mean, the manufacturers are churning this stuff out. The U.S. has pre-ordered 1.5 billion doses, for a population of 300 million people. Now, most are going to use 2 doses, but that's at least twice as much as we need. So my guess is by end of spring, early summer, getting a vaccine will be like getting a flu shot, right? It'll be available at all the Walgreens and CVS's and your local doctor's offices and so on. So at that point, the challenge is more winning the hearts and minds of everybody in the population, because there are many groups that are reluctant to take the vaccines. But at some point, the scarcity issue is going to disappear.
Well, and David, that was one of my questions. What do I have to worry if people don't get the vaccine? I'm going to get vaccinated.
Uh-huh.
What is the danger of people not getting vaccinated? Not to themselves, but yes, to me, to everyone else.
Yeah, because I only care about myself.
Yeah, well, but the fact is, if people don't want to get vaccinated, that's the risk they take.
Like I said, you don't want to wear your seatbelts.
Right.
You go through the windshield, not me.
Are they a risk to me?
Well, not really, other than in the way I've described up to this point. The challenge is if we as a country don't come together collectively to get vaccinated up to the 75% of the population necessary to get herd immunity, that we'll have pockets of this existing in parts of the country longer than it should, and some people will suffer and die from that. So it's
that's the bad part, but can't we just do the polio thing and put it in a sugar cube? I mean, what's the big deal here?
Put it in the water like fluoride?
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Put it in the water.
Put it in Kool-Aid.
There you go.
Perfect.
There was some resistance to the vaccine or the polio vaccine initially too. So it's
until people started to get polio, then I'm sure that resistance dried up really quick.
Exactly.
Right?
And then we couldn't get it fast enough. So
David,
hopefully that will happen this time around.
Thank you so much for your insight today. Again, a healthcare expert, author of The Customer Revolution in Healthcare. That's David Johnson with When We Can Get Back to hashtag old normal.
Yeah.